this is Seagrove, and we are blasting your ears today. We've got two North American top 16 finishers selling secret rare Lele's. If you're interested, why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves? Connor, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Connor Finton. I'm a player from the Atlanta, Georgia area. I play for Team ARG, as my friend over here. He's going to introduce himself now.
I hear lots of players in Atlanta. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I'm Michael Pramawat. I live in Indiana, and I play there now. Also on Team ARG, and I do have some Tapu Leles for sale if anyone wants them.
Awesome. So, obviously, we're just coming off Toronto. Not the largest regional ever. And it's going to be followed by Greensboro, which looks to not be the largest regional ever. Connor, why don't you give us a quick rundown of the a summary of Toronto, like meta and such.
So Toronto was interesting because a lot of people ended up changing their decks like really last minute, and then the decks that people expected to be big and do well didn't. So like we saw one Pikarom make day two. We saw Zoroark. It was only a couple. I mean, I guess Zoroark still underperformed compared to what it has done recently. There's a lot of fighting decks and a lot more Trevenant than everyone was expecting.
Yeah, and then Pram, Night March won. How different was your list from Jimmy's list?
It was 60 card exact.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you feel like that was the right call for the meta, the right cards, the right list for the meta, or do you feel like there were other things that changes you should have made?
The list was not optimal because we made it the night before. So there was definitely some changes we could have made, like not playing Energy Lotto was a big deal. I mean, not for Jimmy because he was just on fire that day, but but for everyone else who ran the deck, Lotto would have helped a lot. And I think some debate was like whether or not we should play a second D Valley.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So looks like we're gonna have basically I don't want to say the same meta because I think it's gonna change, but same card pool going into Greensboro. I don't think there's any significant promos becoming available between now and then. I'm not wrong about that, am I? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay, so what decks do you think Night March is the best deck in the format? Let's start there.
No. I think it was just in a good spot for the meta. Yeah.
Okay. Other decks that we saw do well, we saw a lot of Trev. Is Trev going to be a good play again? And why or why not? Connor, why don't you take this one?
Well, I think Trev was like kind of a surprise going into the tournament in Toronto. Like I don't think everyone was sitting there prepared for it. I know a lot of people played like Hitmonchan, Wob, and other fighting decks expecting to beat up on Pikarom and Zoroark. Like even myself, I went and played a fighting deck at the tournament and then did bad because I played against a bunch of Trevenants. Mm-hmm. So I think people are going to be prepared for it. I think less people are going to play decks that just take it on a loss to Trevenant. Like I know my mindset going into the weekend was, I'll just like take the super bad Trevenant matchup. It'll be fine. I'm not going to play against any. And then I played against a bunch. So
yeah,
I think the play, I don't know if the play will go down, but I definitely don't think it's going to be like half of top 8 like it was this time.
Sure. So Pram, do you expect Zoroark to make a comeback in a big way?
Yeah, so I think the reason why Night March and Trev did so well was because it's a deck. Those are two decks that like really flourish when people aren't like playing honest decks. Like everyone's just trying to do like super cute things and really hard counter people. That's when like Night March, Trevenant really come into like their full power. And so I think this was probably one of the one-off tournaments where like Trevenant and Night March did really well. I think people will start playing Zoroark again because like, they're like, I'm not letting Trevenant win, kind of thing. So, but that does open the door back up for Pika to come back in. So the Zoroark decks will have to slightly adjust for that matchup.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on Zoroark Lucario for this coming tournament? Seems like it could have a good matchup against Zoroark decks, could have a good matchup against Trevenant. Am I way off on that? What do you guys think?
I think Garbodor is just too good of a combo to go with. So like at the end of the game, like you can beat anyone with Garbotoxin in.
Yes.
And And it doesn't even matter what the prize count is. The game can just be over. Like it can be like Garbotoxin N, you draw 6, I draw 6, you draw 1. Next turn, you did something, Garbotoxin N again, and hopefully that's enough.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think that the Garbodor is just incredibly strong, and like we were testing Garbodor before the tournament, and Zorogarb every single game, even when we're playing things that we think should counter it, would just go and pop off at the end of the game, or like would always have outs to be able to win the game no matter what it was playing against. I think it's just incredibly strong.
Okay, so is that the deck to play going forward, or to beat?
I think it's definitely on the list of things to play. I think it's definitely like I said, it's incredibly strong. It's got outs for pretty much everything. I think it's a very good play going into this next weekend. So.
Okay.
Yeah, another thing about Expanded is it's kind of like the Wild West. Like everyone could just play their pet decks, and it's relatively okay, unless it's like really far out there. And even like people's like the Trevenant, people were playing Trevenant. They were like, oh, in the matchup to look out for was Pika, but some people were running 1/1 Pyroar.
Right.
So it's just like, all right, yeah, that works.
So we saw Archie's Toys in top 8. Seems like it's in a pretty good place. What are you guys' thoughts on Archie's Toys in the format?
I think Archie's Toys is pretty solid. Especially for I think it was actually a decent call for this weekend. Better than I expected it to be. I think it struggles a little bit with Pikarom, but like we saw, a lot of the Pikaroms weren't doing well, and I think it handles those other decks pretty well. Kind of like how Night March and Trevenant were handling the decks that when everyone was trying to tech for Pikarom, it was handling those decks. They were handling those decks well. I think that Archie's Toys does a similar thing, and it's just it's good. It has a lot of options. There's a lot of things it can do, so I think it's just a solid deck.
Yeah, seems good. We saw some interesting decks. Did either of you all have a favorite rogue that made day 2?
I sure did.
What was yours?
It was the counter deck. That deck was sweet.
The Mew counter box?
Yeah. When I saw him send up Articuno with a counter gain and a counter energy, and I was just like, oh, let's get it. Yeah. That's cool.
I like that one as well. Hopefully we'll actually have an interview with that on here soon. Definitely my favorite deck from the weekend. Connor, did you have one?
Well, I'm a little biased because I played a stupid deck, and then my friend Nathan Brower made day 2 that we both played Galley Jirachi for the tournament, and that was super cool. It just really hates item lock. Really hates item lock. I can see that
getting crushed by Trev.
Yeah. Nathan played 3 Trevenants day 2, and then all of his rounds were over in 15 minutes. His only win was when he got paired against the Pikarom, and the Pikarom didn't want to play against the Galley deck, so it was just he just made day 2 and sat there and didn't do anything all day.
Wow.
But the deck was really neat.
I've been there before with Night March. It's okay.
You got to take some lessons from Pendarvis, I guess.
So, what? Lost my train of thought. I guess Connor, what version of Mega Ray are you playing in Greensboro?
Oh, don't even say anything. I've been thinking every time I think about it, I'm like, I just want to play Mega Ray or like Guardy, Mega Ray or Mega Guardy. Every single tournament, I think of ways to make those decks work, and they're always Mega Ray causes just work worse Zoroark, right?
Yeah.
But I really don't want it to be. I was like, I can play Mega Ray. It's got this it doesn't get one shot by Zoroark, and there's all these cool things you can do. And then I'm like, wait, but then they just play Sudowoodo down, and I have no way to get rid of it, and then I lose.
You gotta band Toad, Guzma, Quaking Punch. That's the answer.
Yes.
So let's talk about expected biggest decks. Think about what 3 decks will be the biggest in Greensboro, or in terms of what you will play against the most. Okay? What 3 decks will you expect to play against the most? Pram, you start.
I think Zorogarb is going to be one of the big decks again. People are going to play they're going to be I want to beat everything, and Zorogarb is the deck that can beat everything. They're going to be slapping an Oricorio in there for Vespa Queen and Night March, and they're going to be this is good enough, and Pika will hopefully get countered out, or I can Garbotoxin end them and cross my fingers. The other decks, I think that's going to be played. I think Archie's is still super popular. Everyone loves to play Archie's, especially because Maxi got banned, so it's the only really broken cheese out stage 2 decks that you can play. So I think those 2, and then the third one's kind of a toss up in my head, but I think it might be Trev. But then again, people historically just don't like to play Trev that much. They'd rather beat Trev than play it. I mean, sure, you had like 10 people in day two. But if you look at how many people played it in day one, it was only 16 of them. Right? So they just had a huge conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
So
Facts. Yeah.
So I think my first two are the same. I think RG Stoice and Zorogar. I think there'd be a ton. I think people also really like the Hitmonchan deck, and I think they're gonna stick on it. I don't know. I feel like everyone just like all the, especially a lot of the players who like the players who don't go to as many of these big tournaments. They like to jump on some stuff like that. I think it's cool. It's neat. I think a lot of people are gonna go and play the Hitmonchan deck again. Like I know a lot of the people who played Hitmonchan at a lot of the locals in the Toronto area and that area, they all played Hitmonchan. I think that a similar thing is going to happen where people just like the deck. They're going to play it.
Cool. What are two decks that have been around but didn't see a lot of play in Collinsville that are going to make a comeback in Greensboro, and why do you think that? I'm going to start with Connor. We'll go back and forth.
So a big deck that it didn't see play in Toronto that I think is going to see play? Yeah.
An established deck.
Man, I feel like there was a lot of different stuff played in Toronto. That's a difficult question. Maybe like I feel like there was less just like straight Buzzwole, like Buzzwole Lycanroc kind of decks at the tournament. I feel like those could be okay again. But yeah, I think that most decks that like I feel like we had a big variety, especially on day one at the tournament of what people were playing. I don't think that there was a lot that was like missing or stuff that is just going to jump out of nowhere.
Okay. Pram, what do you think?
I think Pika will get played again into better success.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
So I think one of the reasons why Pika did so bad was it was so hyped that everyone was like, I'd rather just counter it than deal with it than play it. And so like now everyone's like, well, there are more things I have to play against other than Pika ROM. So I have to like, so Pika's like, perfect. I can play the game again. Sweet. So I think that's where they're going to be at.
Are there any other tag team GXs that will either have their own deck or find their way into another deck and expand it?
Gengar Mimikyu, I think is really good.
I really like the Gengar Mimikyu like Vileplume shenanigans.
Tell me about that.
So you just like you use Gengar Mimikyu on the first turn, or I guess the second turn if you're you could already have Vileplume out, but like say you go second, right? You go send up Gengar Mimikyu, use the GX attack, and just have your bench set up so you can set up Vileplume in the next turn, and then your opponent just doesn't do anything, and you just have Vileplume out. There was a deck list that was posted online like the night before the tournament that was like Aromatisse, Vileplume, with the Gengar Mimikyu to stop that so you could set it up. It was really neat. I think it's really cool. I don't know how great it is. The issue that we were having when testing it was that it lost to Zorogarb, so it's probably not all that good, but I think it's cool.
I think its Trev matchup is probably also bad, because like if they item lock you before you can get Vileplume out, Trev is just like, free matchup.
Trev matchup was hard, but there's some things you can play to fix.
Yeah.
So Gengar Mimikyu has a GX that says like no cards can be played.
Yes.
And if you have an extra energy, you draw until you have 7. Is that right?
Yes, both players, I believe.
Yeah, both players draw till 7.
Okay, and what's the attack cost?
Just one psychic.
One psychic. Okay. Cool. So let's think about what decks we talked about. What decks we expect to see, and sort of what decks we thought would make a comeback. I always like to ask, what's a deck, the best deck that you will not play, and for what reason?
Okay, I'm not gonna play Zorogarb. I think the deck is incredible, but it's most at this point it's just superstition. But every single time I play Zoroark, I just brick like 4 rounds out of the tournament, don't get points, and then get real sad. Like I've never gotten points at a regional or higher with a Zoroark deck, and I think I'm just done. I think I'm just done trying.
So no Zoroark.
Yeah, I'm just giving up.
All right.
Yeah, for me it's probably Night March. I like to think that my Night March has like a cooldown period before it can win again, and so it just popped off, and we need enough time for people to forget about it, and then and eventually that time will happen, and I'll just be playing Night March again. But right now, not yet.
Okay, so we have some people talking about Greninja. Of course, a lot of it is memeing, but does Greninja have a place in the meta?
I think it's too slow.
Yeah, I hadn't put any thought into Greninja, but I think it's slow. There's a lot of, like ability lock or item lock or just like things that can mess with it. So
I feel like Pikarom does 170 to the bench.
That's also not good for them.
It just knocks out 2 Greninja breaks.
Yeah, that's too.
Yeah, I feel like there's no coming back from that at that point. Like Pikarom's a deck that can make comebacks, but Greninja's a deck that can make comebacks, but Pikarom is this big bulky dude taking 2 prizes. I feel like it's gonna be really hard for them to deal with.
Yeah. Last question: is there any deck that you think could surprise in Greensboro? I don't want to ask like, oh, do you have a secret deck? But is there a deck that maybe a known deck or a deck that you think is underrated that you feel comfortable sharing about?
I still really like Gallade. I think the deck's really cool. I think that the matchups against Garb and Pikarom are really solid. But again, like I think if we're going to see an uptick in Trev play, it's probably not very good.
Yeah. Do you expect that uptick in Trev play?
I don't think so. I think people are going to be like, oh, Trev's going to be hated out this weekend. I think there could still be, like, don't quote me on that, but there's people also like Pram was saying earlier, people don't like to play Trev. People like to, make up their big attacker and go boom.
Yeah.
Instead of just, I'll pass with my Trev inactive and hope you don't do anything. So.
Yeah, I think that maybe, for me, I think in my head I'm just thinking either Vespiquen or Zorgolisopod.
Okay, Zoropod.
Yeah, just because like the game plan for Zoropod will just be like, I just won't play against Pika at all.
Yeah.
and then you have pretty decent matchups across the board, and then like Vespiquen, kind of the same mentality, but instead of Pika, they're just like, I'm not gonna play against any Trevenant whatsoever, and it'll be fine.
Is that just is it Vespiquen because Vespiquen's like, in my mind, Vespiquen is Night March, 1 turn slower, doesn't auto lose to Oricorio.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what it is. Also, it has like typing, so
Yeah.
it has that going for its favor, so it's pretty favored versus like the GX Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then it just does a lot of damage. It's relatively consistent, and single prize attackers. So
It's got more room for techs in it than Night March. It's easier to fit. Like, there's a bunch of stage 1 dudes. Like, you can play Machoke and Muck and stuff like that in the deck that don't really fit into.
Yeah, you can play your own Oricorio if you wanted to.
Hey.
So
yeah. Your own Karen too, if you want to.
Yeah, sure, why not? you put it in your own Karen and Toad, and you're just like, Toad, Karen, Quaking Punch, and they're like, what happened?
You just save all your Quaking Punches. All your battle compressors don't do anything after just Karen them. Toad.
That's why I've been teching a Giratina promo and Greninja for the mirror. It's super good. So, all right. JK lol. So let's get into closing this. I promised a short one, and so we're gonna do that. Pram, why don't you go ahead and give us some shout outs.
Yeah, sure. So follow me on Twitter. I do some cool stuff on there. Like I post about my tournaments. Sometimes I post about random stuff. Thanks to Team ARG sponsoring me. Check them out. They do a circuit series, and they're coming out with a new card game, Argent Saga, which seems pretty cool.
They're playing it in Charlotte on Sunday of Greensboro. So if you don't do well and you want to try out a new card game, it's not far.
Yeah. Yep. And thanks to TC Evolutions, they have great products, and I use their ability markers for like everything now. It took a minute to like get the muscle memory to put the markers on and off, but it's a huge lifesaver, especially if you're playing a Zoroark deck.
Yeah, seems very good. And Connor, go ahead.
Of course, same kind of thing. Sponsored by ARG. Thanks a lot to Jim for giving us the opportunity to do all that stuff. Thanks to Monster Protectors for sponsoring us. They just sent us in a little care package, so that was nice. Follow me on Twitter at CondorTCG. That would be nice. Oh yeah, that's about it.
All right, and Condor has 2 N's in it.
It does. It does have 2 N's.
I don't have them on here today because new Skype is busted. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Good luck to everyone in Greensboro. Peace out.